guys, IceWire here and welcome back to the channel. Hey guys, IceWire here and welcome back to the channel. Now today I am doing something that has been long overdue on this channel. Something that people have been waiting for too long, way too long. Something I've promised and never did. And that is my official review of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 1. It has been very long overdue, but welcome to this review. If you don't know me, my name is IceWire, aka Holly. I moved from New Zealand to America, and I've been here for about 6 months now, and I like to talk about vampires and video games and stuff. That's kind of like my whole deal. Also, as of today, I've just woken up, and I am being kept awake by Mellow Yellow. This stuff is way better than Mountain Dew. Please sponsor me. So, without further ado, let's get right into the review. Welcome to my review of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 1. Now, this game is in fact a special one, and despite me dilly-dallying for a couple of months on making this review, I figured it's high time to share my thoughts on my experience with the game before Bloodlines 2, the sequel, comes out later in the year. But first, what the hell is this game? Bloodlines 1 is a vampire RPG experience based on the tabletop role-playing game that originates from. After a night on the town and bringing back home a cutie to shag, your night gets turned upside down when said cutie turns you into a vampire. The two of you get brought in by the vamp authorities, aka the Camarilla, to be judged by the area's Prince Sebastian LaCroix, who's basically top dog in this town. Your sire gets offed, and you just dodged the blow of the executioner's blade thanks to the intervention of the local anarch leader, Nines Rodriguez. Yay, you get to live! But now, you're LaCroix's little helper. Not so yay. And so begins your story. What makes this solid RPG experience for me off the bat is delving into a game with good world building, fascinating characters, and a story I feel is worth becoming invested in. And Bloodlines 1 serves up a well-written story, I believe. At the beginning, you can either take a quiz to determine what kind of vampire you are, to basically sort yourself into a clan, a la, Hogwarts style, put on the sorting hat, but instead of Gryffindor and Slytherin, it's or Malkavian. Or alternatively, you can just skip that and select whatever clan your wee heart desires. There are 7 clans in total, which include the feisty Bruja, the ambitious Ventru, seductive Toreador, the knowledge-seeking Tremere, the animalistic Gangrel, the ghastly Nosferatu, and the deranged Malkavians. Character creation options are limited due to it being a game from the early 2000s, but the dialogue choices in the game give you some legroom for role-playing how you like. Now personally, I'd only ever seen Bloodlines 1 be played through Let's Plays. That was how I was introduced to the game. Specifically, Cry's Let's Play, way back in the day. He picked a Malkavian, so I was already familiar with how the Malkavians kind of, functioned, with how their dialogue was different from the other clans. And I took the quiz and it deemed me a Toreador. My character's name was Lucia, and I headcanoned her as an emotional but good-hearted person. At least she was in her human life, and she still tried to be as a vampire. But after all, she was a vampire at the end of the day, and in this universe, all vampires are monsters. That is canonically so. You can try to be a good person and, save the girl, or refuse to kill somebody just because, you've met them and it turns out they're actually a really nice person. That's just not how that works in the world of darkness. You can try and do that, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you are a monster. And my character was also just blatantly very gay. An axe-wielding gay is what I called her, because I chose to go the melee route with my Toreador, so I used celerity a bunch. So, zipped and zoomed around combat with an axe in my hand, and that's how I won the vast majority of my fights. And she fell putty into the quirky, insane hands of Jeanette Foreman, and I played in favor, of her becoming the dominant personality, and I knew this game was, quite mature, but I wasn't expecting it to go to like a fade to black scene and have some just straight up porn noises start coming out of my fucking computer. When that happened, I was just like, oh, I need to go shut my door that's wide open, cause holy shit, that's, very pornographic. You don't see anything, but what you hear is enough to paint a picture. And Jeanette is just one of the many characters that you'll meet along the way. You get to meet a wide variety of different, denizens of the night here and there in Santa Monica and LA in general. A couple of my favorites, aside from Jeanette, were obviously Nines Rodriguez. I loved Nines Rodriguez. I think he's probably one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite out of all of them. Just because, he seems like a nice guy. I mean, he saved my ass twice. Both from, random scum on the street to a fucking werewolf. But another character that I really loved, and I feel like doesn't get enough love in general because a lot of people tend to fawn over Jeanette and Therese quite a bit, is Beckett. Beckett is a gangrel. He's kind of an archaeologist, if you will. He's old, he's knowledgeable, he's been around for a very, very long time, and I just really enjoyed it whenever he came up on the screen. His dialogue was always interesting to me, and depending on your choices, you can either, make Beckett really like you, or, not like you at all. And I managed to make him like me. And then the last thing he ever said to me was, oh, good luck, young one. Like all paternally, and it was like, oh, thank you. I just really like Beckett. The story is, it's one that gripped me in from the get-go. You start off as just, a human having a fun night with someone, and then it quickly gets turned into the worst and what will be the longest night of your undead life. There have been a lot of iterations of vampires and different ways to represent them throughout lots of different media throughout the years, from Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, to Twilight, Vampire Diaries, the most recent examples that I can think of. And each of them have their own specific way of how they represent a vampire's humanity. And humanity plays a important part of the decision making throughout the story, whether you kill someone or let them go, whether you side with this person or that person, whether you choose to give in to the beast or not whenever you feed, whether you try to be a good vampire and pull away right before you drain them completely dry. All of that is tied into your humanity. At the beginning of the game, you meet Smiling Jack, who will basically give you the opportunity to play the tutorial or just, skip ahead to the story. And I like to play through the tutorial, even though parts of the tutorial are granted not very good. The stealth part that you have to do is absolutely horrid to play. I hate it. It's just really poorly done. It's so easy to be spotted, and it's basically like the enemies are on high vigilance mode whenever you enter that part of the tutorial. The Smiling Jack, you meet him, and if you decide to go through with the tutorial, as you go along in this tutorial, you get to see more snippets of what's happening here in this new world that you've stumbled into. You get explanations on what it's like to be a vampire, the importance of feeding, who is that bad guy that's shooting at you with a gun, who is that even bigger guy that just turns that other bad guy into dust. You get more of an explanation of the story, and even with its niggly bits here and there, I do think the tutorial is worth playing through just for that alone. But once you get out of the tutorial, you find yourself in Santa Monica, which is the beginning of your story. Now, from Santa Monica to Hollywood is where the story is at its best. It thrives really well, and all the plot points, both the side plots and the main plot itself, they're all done very, very, very well here. However, the story chokes once you get into Chinatown, which is like the final area where the story is. It chokes there so bad. The writing for a lot of the like side missions you come across and the actual main mission itself is just really poorly done. I think at that point was where the developers, began to run out of time. And it's sad to say, but it does show. It really does show. The rest of the game is absolutely fantastic though. I have little to no complaints about the events of what transpire in the previous areas from before you come to Chinatown. One of my favourite parts of Bloodlines 1 was playing through the ocean house, which is terrifying. It makes me so scared every time I play, but the experience itself is worth it. It's so well done. I love it. I like being scared sometimes, and that delivers on what I want from that area, and it is to be scared and also intrigued. Next up, gameplay. One of the first things that I heard about Bloodlines 1 was that the combat was not very good, and they're not wrong. I think if you didn't have the options to use things like celerity or the Tremere's blood boil, combat would be just extremely dull. It's already very crooked and wonky, and I think it definitely needed more polish, and if there was ever going to be like a fully complete final version of Bloodlines 1, but ultimately it just isn't. It's not good, and one of the biggest flaws I think in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 1 is how towards the end game, when you are in like the end stretch to go and face the big bad at the end, is how you can completely fuck yourself over in terms of leveling up on your character sheet, and that is exactly what I did. So I played a Toreador, right? So I put a lot of my points into my celerity, my manipulation, my subterfuge, all of that shit. Like, I put most of my skills into getting myself out of situations, or at the very least getting the upper hand in situations through, my persuasion, my powers of persuasion, if you will. And I didn't really invest in guns, which is something that you need to do, or else you're completely screwed once you get into the end game. Huge spoiler incoming for the final boss of Bloodlines 1. The final boss that you will come up against is the Sheriff, LaCroix's right-hand man. He has two forms, his normal form that you see him in, and a giant bat-like form. And you need to shoot that thing constantly to get it out of the sky, and you need to be pretty good at guns. And was I good at guns? No, because I didn't really invest that much into like my gun skill, and in the end that fucked me over to the point where I could not get past his first form at all. I just was not strong enough, even with my completely maxed out celerity and my mostly maxed out like melee skill. I was still very much screwed. So what did I do? I cheated my skills up. I cheated my gun skill up, I cheated my strength up, like all the necessary points that you had to put into your character to get them good with guns and like long range combat in general, I invested in, and in the end that is what helped me beat the final boss and finish the game. Without that, I could not have done it. And for me, that was a very huge issue with Bloodlines 1. The fact that you have to basically forego everything else that you learned prior to getting up to that final moment, which I believe in an RPG, you should be able to play your own way. That's the fun of RPGs, whether you decide to be, for example, a stealth archer or a magic user. You know, there should be something for everybody to complete the end game with. And Bloodlines 1, in the end, it just completely forgets it. I'm sorry, you wanted to be a charismatic character? Well, learn how to use a gun or you're fucked. But my axe. I have an axe. It's what I'm really good at. Yeah, I don't fucking care. Just throw it away to the side, and just take a gun. This gun right here. Have it. But I don't want to. Fine. I don't really know how to use it though. Guess what, kid? You gotta fucking learn. So for me, the combat is probably one of the biggest flaws of the game, specifically near end game. It is absolutely terrible. But one gameplay feature that I absolutely loved during my playthrough was the frenzy option. Now, what happens when a vampire frenzies is you use your abilities. Say you use a lot of celerity, and to the point where you're completely out of blood in your system. You start to get ravenous. You will enter a frenzy, and you basically give in to the beast, run to the nearest human you can find and drain them dry, and then move on to the next one until you're sated. Now I remember this very clearly, and it's one of like the best fucking moments in gaming for me, honestly. Now in terms of my experience with my first ever frenzy, we're gonna go back to past IceWire, when the frenzy was still fresh in her mind, just so you can get a taste of just how insane it was for me. I beat a boss, low on blood, like I had no blood, I was thirsty, and I was playing a melee Toreador. I want you to keep that in mind, I was a Toreador. I nicknamed my Toreador an axe-wielding gay because that is literally what she was. She wielded an axe and was very, very gay. And my poor lesbian Toreador, she finished talking to a character, and as soon as she finished talking to this character, she punches the crap out of them, runs on all fours down the street, leaps onto a hobo and drains them dry. People are screaming, a cop is shooting her. It's chaos, I couldn't control it, that was my first time frenzying, and I was just staring at my computer, just open-mouthed, and inevitably it led to her final death. I think in the end, Bloodlines 1 has a lot of places where it shines brightest, especially in the early days of the game, where you play through Santa Monica, everything is so lovingly taken care of, like with detail. The characters you meet, the stories you get to take part in are really well done. But as you get into the in-game part, it's disappointing. But it's not disappointing enough that I would say it dampened my overall experience with Bloodlines 1. I think, well, the biggest one that I could say that would make it like a bad experience would be the whole gun leveling thing I mentioned earlier. But other than that, Bloodlines 1 is a very good game. It's well deserving of a sequel in my eyes, and if you haven't played it yourself, I highly recommend that you go and play it. It is on Steam and GOG. Just go check it out. It's really fun, I promise. There are tons of mods out too that add a little bit more to the game. I played with the unofficial patch, and I'm thinking of maybe giving it a try with the clan quest mods. That aside, it was a good game, and I highly recommend you play it. It is an oldie, but a goodie. Thank you so much for watching my review of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 1. Have you played Bloodlines 1 yourself? Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of it, what you thought of this review, just your thoughts in general. And of course, a massive thank you to my current patrons of 2020. They are, of course, Nicholas Montoya, Cooladora, Kazgirl, and Zapfanouch. And if you want to see your name shouted out at the end of the video like these amazing people right here, do hop on over to my Patreon and check out all the cool rewards on offer. And thank you so much for all of the amazing support you guys give me on that platform. It has funded many different things on this channel and also has kept me fed. So thank you very much for all the support on Patreon. Anyway, it is IceWire signing off, and I'll see you guys a little later next time on the channel. Have a lovely day / night wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!